Chapter 1. At the heart of ancient wisdom, and on the frontiers of modern science and quantum physics, resides a fundamental truth that has been veiled by the noise of material existence. Everything that exists is vibration, and reality is nothing more than the manifestation of a harmonic frequency. The human being, in its deepest essence, is not a solid body of flesh and blood, but an extraordinarily complex musical instrument designed to resonate with the symphony of the cosmos. The key to tuning this instrument and accessing the mastery of manifestation is encoded in a mythical text, the Scroll of Resonance. Its discovery marks the beginning of an era where spirituality and energy science merge into operational knowledge. The history of this sacred manuscript does not begin with an act of search, but with an act of telluric liberation. The most truthful legend places it in a remote Tibetan monastery, in a valley that had remained hidden from civilization for centuries, a place where the air is so pure it is said that one can hear the voice of the earth. It was precisely the voice of the earth in its most dramatic manifestation that revealed the text. The manuscript was found during a violent earthquake, not as a destructive disaster, but as a rupture of the veil. The tremor which shook the stony structure of the monastery opened a secret vault, revealing a space that had been sealed since the temple's foundation. In the center of this chamber, on an obsidian pedestal, lay the scroll. The monks who recovered it reported that the scroll was not made of common paper or leather, but of an unknown material, thin and flexible, of a color that shifted between pale gold and lunar silver. The most astonishing characteristic, and the proof of its energetic nature, was that it was a scroll that vibrated when touched, a matter that carries frequency. Upon moving one's hand near it or touching it with a pure intention, the physical material of the manuscript entered an audible and tactile vibration, demonstrating that its material existence was no more important than the frequential information it stored. The scroll was, in essence, a solid record of a primordial sound wave. The inscriptions on this manuscript did not resemble any known language. They were a series of symbols that emitted a silent sound. These geometric figures and curves, arranged in perfect patterns, were like frozen cymatics, the visual representation of sound vibration. The monks reported that upon contemplating the symbols, the mind entered a state of profound calm, and sometimes an internal tone was heard in the ears, a frequency that reorganized thought. The scroll was a geometric score that taught resonance through sight and touch. The reason this fundamental knowledge remained hidden is revealed in the initial warnings of the text itself. The knowledge of resonance is fundamental power. The scroll is a manual for manipulating the laws of vibratory attraction. If the knowledge of how to tune the individual harmonic field fell into the hands of an egocentric or immature consciousness, it could be used for domination, selfish accumulation, or the creation of chaos. The ancient masters understood that the power of resonance is so great that it must be anchored in the coherence of the heart and the purity of intention. For this reason, the scroll was guarded until the vibration of the earth itself signaled that humanity was ready for a mass awakening. That moment has arrived. The present moment is marked by instability. Scientists are already measuring that the earth itself is changing its frequency, with fluctuations in the Schumann resonance and alterations in the magnetic field. This change is not a coincidence. It is the planet calling for human awakening. The Schumann resonance, the electromagnetic heartbeat of the Earth at 783 Hz, is being amplified and, at times, disturbed by cosmic and terrestrial forces. This forces human consciousness to evolve rapidly to synchronize with the new planetary rhythm. The Scroll of Resonance being revealed now is the emergency tuning instruction manual for humanity with its new vibratory home. We cannot continue to live in a state of internal disharmony when the planet is raising its note. Survival and evolution demand that we learn to resonate consciously. Chapter 2. To understand the usefulness of the scroll, we must first understand the vibratory nature of existence. Modern physics and mystical philosophy agree on the first great truth. Everything is vibration, from the subatomic particles that compose matter to the vast galaxies moving in space-time. Solidity does not exist. There are only frequencies of energy vibrating at different speeds that our senses interpret as matter. The table, the air, the body, thought, emotion, all are different frequency ranges. If the universe is a vast orchestra, the human being is a complex musical instrument, a symphony in miniature. This instrument is composed of multiple strings that must vibrate in perfect coordination. The string of the physical body with its cellular frequency, the string of emotions with their fluid rhythms, the string of the mind with its electrical patterns, and the string of the spirit with its connection to the source. Health, vitality, and the capacity for manifestation are directly proportional to how well-tuned these strings are. The personal harmonic field is not a vague mystical quality, but the dominant frequency we radiate in every moment. It is the average of all our vibrations, the sum of our habitual thoughts, our recurrent emotions, and the vitality of our physical organs. This field is measurable. The HeartMath Institute, for example, has demonstrated that the electromagnetic field of the heart is the most powerful one we emit, extending several meters around the body, and its wave pattern is a direct reading of our state of internal coherence. Our harmonic field is the silent message we send to the universe. The difference between success and suffering, between health and disease, lies in the difference between chaotic resonance and coherent resonance. Chaotic resonance occurs when the strings of the human instrument vibrate randomly, without coordination. The brain thinks of the future with anxiety, while the heart recalls past pain and the body is rigid from tension. The electromagnetic field becomes erratic and fragmented. This is known as incoherence. When we radiate incoherence, the universe returns chaos. We encounter obstacles, attract conflictual relationships, experience disorder, and ultimately, the body gets sick as its internal operating systems cannot maintain a coordinated rhythm. Coherent resonance, on the contrary, is the state of perfect flow. It is when thought, emotion, and body vibrate in unison, aligned with a clear and rhythmic frequency. When the heart and brain synchronize, the harmonic field expands and becomes potent. In this state, the human instrument becomes a lighthouse. The universe responds to this clarity by sending order and flow. Relationships are easy, health is robust, opportunities appear effortlessly, and manifestation is almost instant. The scroll of resonance is the technology to move from incoherence to coherent flow. It is essential to understand how the harmonic field affects health, relationships, and manifestation. In health, a coherent harmonic field allows the body's self-regulation processes to function without interference. Cells have an optimal frequency of vibration. If the dominant harmonic field is low or chaotic, due to chronic stress, for example, the cellular frequency drops, the immune system weakens, and the doors open to disease, which is a physical manifestation of vibratory disharmony. Healing, from this perspective, is not fighting the disease, but the re-establishment of the original and perfect harmonic frequency of the self. In relationships, our harmonic field acts as a powerful magnet. We do not attract what we consciously desire, but what we are vibrationally. If we radiate a frequency of lack and low self-esteem, we attract relationships that reinforce that lack. If, on the contrary, our harmonic field is coherent, potent, and high, love, gratitude, we attract people and situations that resonate with that same high frequency. The scroll teaches us that the best way to improve a relationship is to stop trying to change the other person and, instead, change our own resonance. In manifestation, resonance is the operational law. The material universe is a mirror of vibration. If you want to attract abundance, it is not enough to think positively. You must feel abundant, raising your emotional frequency to the same note as abundance. The harmonic field is the driving force that aligns external events with the internal state. All of this is supported by the science of coherence, an empirical field of study developed by organizations like the HeartMath Institute. They have demonstrated that heart coherence is the key state for optimizing human performance. Using advanced technology, they have measured how the rhythm of our heart affects brain waves, hormonal chemistry, and the function of the autonomic nervous system. When the heart is in coherence, its electromagnetic field becomes the strongest signal the body emits, and this signal synchronizes the rest of the system. By achieving coherence, the human being transforms into a high-power transmitter whose message of order and harmony is received and responded to by the unified field of existence. The scroll, therefore, is not a mystical text in the traditional sense, but a bioresonance engineering manual, which uses mystical knowledge to achieve scientific and measurable results in life. Having defined the personal harmonic field as the dominant frequency that the being radiates, and having understood the importance of coherence for health and manifestation, we must now anchor this knowledge in the immutable laws of the universe. The Scroll of Resonance teaches that spiritual mastery is the application of cosmic physics. Resonance is not a metaphor, but the fundamental mechanism of creation. Chapter 3. The understanding of resonance begins with the physical principle of resonance, the phenomenon that occurs when two frequencies synchronize and one amplifies the other. In simple terms, if one object is vibrating at a particular frequency, and a second object that has the same natural frequency receives energy from the first, the second object will begin to vibrate with a much greater amplitude. It is the most efficient energy transfer that exists in the cosmos. This transfer does not require physical contact, but only the coincidence of the wave frequency. This fundamental principle is omnipresent in nature and engineering. One of the most dramatic natural examples is that of bridges collapsing due to resonance. Although the construction materials are solid and robust, if the wind or the marching of military troops generates a rhythmic vibration that exactly matches the bridge's natural frequency of oscillation, the energy accumulates exponentially, leading to a catastrophic collapse. It is not brute force that destroys the structure, but the destructive harmony of frequencies. In a more delicate and controlled manner, we have the example of crystal glasses shattering with sound. A singer can emit a pure tone with a precise frequency that matches the resonant frequency of the crystal, and the sound energy is transferred so effectively that the molecular structure of the glass is unable to withstand the amplitude of the resulting vibration. Sound, or vibration, is a constructor and a destroyer. The scroll teaches us that the same principle applies to the body, the cells, and the structure of our reality. A repetitive emotion or thought with the same frequency as an internal fear can amplify that fear to the point of paralysis. The Earth itself provides the anchor for our tuning. The entire planet vibrates within an electromagnetic cavity formed by the Earth's surface and the ionosphere, generating a series of frequency peaks known as Schumann resonance. The most notable and constant is 7.83 Hz. This is the basic frequency, the electromagnetic heartbeat of the Earth. Science has shown that this frequency is not just a physical phenomenon, but has a profound connection to human biology and consciousness. It is notable that our brains are designed to resonate with planetary frequencies. The frequency of 7.83 Hz is found precisely in the range of alpha and theta brainwaves, which are the states associated with deep meditation, relaxation, creativity, and intuition. This is not a coincidence. The human being is designed to be in biospheric synchrony with the Earth. When we are in a natural environment, far from electromagnetic and mental noise, our brain naturally tends to tune into the 7.83 Hz of Schumann. This tuning is the state of optimal mental balance. The scroll describes the Schumann resonance as the maternal pulse, that, when lost, generates the sensation of disconnection and anxiety. Healing, therefore, often begins by re-anchoring our consciousness to this fundamental terrestrial rhythm. This physical and biological understanding finds its perfect echo in the mystical vision of creation. All spiritual traditions agree that the universe did not begin with inert matter, but with sound or vibration. The fundamental teaching is, "In the beginning was the Word," a phrase that does not refer to a spoken word, but to the creator frequency that organized energy into form. Sound is, therefore, the architect of reality. In Eastern traditions, this primordial frequency is known as Om, the primordial sound that sustains creation. Om is not just a mantra, but the vibration of the totality. By correctly chanting Om, the practitioner aligns their individual harmonic field not only with the Schumann resonance of the earth, but with the frequency of the universe itself. The act of emitting this sound creates a resonance in the body that harmonizes the cells and energetic centers. It is the most direct and ancient method for retuning the human instrument to its original design note. The scroll of resonance, with its symbols that seem to sing, is the visual manifestation of this creator word. This fusion between physics and mysticism is deepened with the concepts of morphogenetic fields proposed by Rupert Sheldrake. These fields are invisible structures organized by resonance that contain the memory of nature. Human beings resonate with the morphogenetic fields of our ancestors, our species, and even our intentions. When an individual achieves a state of high harmonic coherence, their field becomes so potent that it begins to rewrite the personal morphogenetic field and, by extension, influences the collective morphogenetic field of humanity, attracting greater coherence and peace. The mastery of resonance, therefore, is the understanding that we are transmitters and receivers in this vast vibratory system. By aligning our frequency with the pulse of the earth and the creator word, we become anchoring points for cosmic harmony, reversing the process of disharmony that has plagued modern consciousness. Chapter 4. If coherent resonance is the natural state of health and flow, the majority of humanity lives in a chronic state of disharmony, where resonance has been lost, fragmented, or saturated by noise. The scroll dedicates an entire section to diagnosing this state, warning that disharmony is the origin of most physical, emotional, and existential suffering. The first step toward healing is recognizing the symptoms of a collapsed or fragmented harmonic field. These symptoms are rarely dramatic at first, but rather an accumulation of small frictions. On a physical level, they manifest as chronic fatigue, insomnia, disordered digestion, and a constant feeling of being on alert. On an emotional level, there is instability, quickly moving from euphoria to sadness, excessive reactivity, or a feeling of dullness. On a mental level, it manifests as confusion, lack of focus, or the non-stopping compulsive thought. The fragmented field also expresses itself in the external world as bad luck, excessive effort, constant conflict in relationships, and the inability to manifest clear goals. The person feels like a radio that has lost its tuning, only emitting static. The main cause of this disharmony is modern electromagnetic noise. The modern world is a dense soup of vibratory interference. Wi-Fi, cell phones, transmission towers, and electronic devices saturate the environment with high-frequency artificial waves that are very far from the natural frequency of human biology, especially the 7.83 Hz of Schumann. This constant noise forces the nervous system to work in a state of permanent stress, trying to process and filter the vibratory cacophony. The brain is particularly sensitive, and prolonged exposure to these denatured frequencies directly interferes with the coherence of brainwaves, making it almost impossible for the individual to enter a deep theta or alpha state naturally. The scroll warns that disconnection from nature and immersion in technology are the great plagues of modern resonance. To this external noise is added mental noise, the compulsive thought that interferes with the natural frequency. The mind is not the self, It is an organ that produces thoughts, and without training, it produces a constant torrent of judgment, worry, planning, and recollection. This noise is a wave of chaotic frequency that dominates the personal harmonic field. A fear thought, for example, has a short and fast frequency that, when repeated thousands of times a day, sets the dominant frequency of the system to fear. The untrained mind becomes a generator of static that blocks the individual's capacity to resonate with peace, low frequency, or wisdom, high coherent frequency. The conscious self must learn that mental silence is not the absence of sound, but the absence of chaotic interference, allowing the natural frequency of the soul to emerge. In addition to mental noise, there is emotional noise, unprocessed traumas creating static in the field. Emotions are, in essence, waves of energy in motion. An unresolved trauma or pain does not disappear. It crystallizes in the body as a low vibration frequency, a stagnant charge that remains active. Shame, resentment, anger, or guilt are dense frequencies that act as black holes in the harmonic field, consuming vital energy and distorting the general signal of the self. A person may try to think positively, high mental frequency, but if they have an unprocessed abandonment trauma, low emotional frequency, the low frequency prevails, sabotaging attempts at manifestation or healing. The scroll teaches that emotional liberation is an act of frequential unblocking, allowing the trapped emotion wave to finally be released from the system. The final result of this general disharmony is disease as a manifestation of disharmonized frequencies. Disease is not a biological error, but the system's last cry for help when it has lost its internal coherence. If an organ or a bodily system maintains a disordered or too low frequency for a prolonged period, for example, due to the chronic stress of fear, the physical structure must adapt to that disordered pattern. A tumor, inflammation, or an autoimmune disorder are the way the physical body represents the internal vibratory struggle in matter. Resonance medicine does not treat the physical symptom, but uses sound, intention, and thought to reintroduce the cell's original harmonic frequency, forcing the body to self-heal by synchronizing with its healthy pattern. The subjective experience of this disharmony is the sensation of being out of sync with life. It is that constant feeling of friction, of going against the current, of life being a struggle. Opportunities do not come, efforts feel exhausting, and meaningful coincidences, synchronicities, are rare. This is because the individual, by emitting a chaotic frequency, can no longer resonate with the ordered flow of existence. The universe is pure order. When we resonate with disorder, the universe isolates us from its harmonic flow. The scroll of resonance, by revealing these mechanisms of disharmony, provides us with the map to reconnect, teaching us how to restore coherence so that life once again becomes a symphony of grace and manifestation. The next chapter delves into the specific practices, the 3 pillars of elevated resonance, that will allow us to move from theory to transformation. We have unveiled the mystery of the scroll of resonance and diagnosed the root of human disharmony. We know that the self is an instrument that has been detuned by electromagnetic and mental noise, losing connection with the maternal pulse of the earth. The purpose of this second chapter is to transform theory into a life technology. The scroll is not just a map of consciousness, but an operational manual that teaches us to use the immutable laws of vibration to recalibrate the human instrument and achieve perfect resonance, the state of harmonic flow with existence. Mastery does not come by accident, but by the conscious application of the law of resonance. Chapter 5. The scroll reveals that perfect resonance is built and sustained upon a fundamental structure, the 3 pillars of elevated resonance. It is not enough to work on just one. The strength of the system lies in the simultaneous alignment of these 3 elements. They are the tripod of consciousness that stabilizes the harmonic field. These pillars are sound, intention, and thought. The first pillar is sound, which teaches us to use specific frequencies to recalibrate the field. If disharmony is the result of a low and chaotic frequency, the solution is to introduce a frequency of order and high vibration so that the principle of resonance takes effect. Like a tuning fork, high coherent sound forces the disordered structures of the body and mind to adopt the higher frequency. This is achieved through external tools, such as crystal bowls and therapeutic tuning forks, and through the most powerful tool, the human voice, via chanting and toning. Sound is the force that moves and reorganizes physical and subtle energy. The second pillar is intention, which is the power of conscious focus to direct the vibration. Sound without intention is mere noise. It is an energy wave without purpose. Intention acts as the laser of consciousness. It is the compass that tells the frequency, go here and do this. When using sound, if the intention is vague or contradictory, the frequency disperses. If the intention is clear, concentrated, and anchored in the heart, the frequency is amplified and directed with millimeter precision towards the cell, organ, or mental pattern that needs to be recalibrated. Intention is the focused will that transforms sound from a passive tool into an active engine of manifestation. The third pillar is thought, which defines how mental patterns establish the dominant frequency of the self. Thoughts are not mere internal words. They are electromagnetic waves that have a measurable frequency. A repetitive thought of gratitude vibrates at a frequency of expansion, while a thought of lack vibrates at a frequency of contraction. The sum of our habitual thoughts establishes the base frequency of our harmonic field. If a person uses sound and intention to raise their frequency, but immediately reverts to a mental pattern of self-criticism or fear, the harmonic field collapses. Thought is the invisible architect that builds and maintains the structure of our resonance. The true magic occurs in the resonant trinity. When the three pillars align, at that precise moment, transformation happens. It is like a perfect musical chord. Sound provides the pure frequency, intention gives it direction, and thought gives it stability. When the body, mind, and spirit act as a single coordinated system, the force of resonance multiplies exponentially. The individual becomes a coherence generator capable of manifesting health, peace, and abundance with an efficiency that defies conventional logic. This tripartite principle was encapsulated by sound healing pioneer Jonathan Goldman in his fundamental formula: frequency plus intention tasii, healing. The scroll of resonance, thousands of years earlier, had established this very equation. It is not enough to listen to a healing tone, frequency, if there is no clear, loving, and focused intention of healing accompanying it. The effect is minimal. True healing is the result of the conscious synthesis of these three forces in a ceremonial act of vibratory self-affirmation. Chapter 6. Of the three pillars, sound is the most direct and accessible for field recalibration. Sound is pure vibration that, by traveling through the air and the body's fluids, which are 70% water, penetrates the cells and immediately readjusts the molecular structures. It is vibratory medicine par excellence. One of the oldest and most powerful frequency technologies is encoded in the solfeggio frequencies. Rediscovered in the modern age, these are a scale of pure tones believed to have been used in ancient Gregorian chant and to have specific effects on the body and consciousness. The scroll describes the application of these frequencies with surgical precision. The note of 396 Hz, for example, is associated with the release of fear and guilt. Being a lower frequency, it works directly on grounding and the root chakra, dissolving the dense energies that trap the self in patterns of victimhood. The frequency of 528 Hz is perhaps the most famous. The scroll calls it the miracle frequency. Modern science has suggested that this frequency has the ability to repair cellular DNA. At a vibratory level, this note resonates with the structure of genetic material, helping to return it to its original state of coherence and health. It is the frequency of biological transformation. The frequency of 639 Hz targets the harmonization of relationships. This note resonates with the heart chakra and the field of interconnectedness. By introducing this frequency, cellular communication is facilitated and, by extension, interpersonal communication, dissolving the static that interferes with love and mutual understanding. The conscious use of these solfeggio frequencies is a method of sound acupuncture for the soul and body. Another crucial method for resonance mastery is binaural beats. This technique exploits the brain's physiology to induce specific states of consciousness. It is based on playing two tones of slightly different frequency, one in each ear. The brain, upon receiving these two signals, does not hear the individual frequencies, but internally creates a third virtual frequency, which is the mathematical difference between the two. For example, if a tone of 410 Hz is played in the left ear and 420 Hz in the right, the brain generates an internal frequency of 10 Hz, which is in the alpha wave range. This technique is a direct shortcut to synchronize the cerebral hemispheres and induce deep states of meditation, healing, and super learning, without the need for years of meditative practice. Tibetan bowls and quartz crystal bowls are tools that use resonance to penetrate cells and deep tissues. The quartz bowl, being made of silicon, the same material present in large quantities in the human body and in computer microchips, generates a pure vibration that resonates optimally with human biology. When played, the sound is not just heard, it is felt as a vibration that reorganizes the body's water and tissues. The scroll teaches that the sound of the bowl is a form of cellular massage that breaks up patterns of stagnant energy that have manifested as pain or illness. Of all instruments, however, the human voice is the most powerful instrument for self-healing. Our voice is intrinsically unique and perfectly tuned to our own vibratory structure. The voice is the only instrument that can be played from the inside out. The act of speaking, singing, or sounding with pure intention is the key to unlocking personal resonance. The technique of toning, described in detail in the deepest folds of the scroll, is the prolonged and conscious intonation of vowels to activate the chakras and organs. Each vowel possesses a specific vibratory frequency that resonates with an energy center in the body. For example, the sound ah resonates with the heart and opens the chest, while the sound o resonates with the belly and the second chakra, promoting emotional flow. Toning is a form of sonic self-massage that uses the body's own vibration to dislodge and release emotional and physical static. Finally, mantra is established as a frequency technology of cosmic scope. A mantra is not a prayer, but a sound formula composed of sacred syllables that, through focused repetition, induces altered states and elevates the practitioner's base resonance. The mantra acts as an anchor that keeps the mind at a high, pure, and constant frequency, preventing chaotic mental noise from taking control. The repetition creates a wave of coherence so strong that it not only affects the personal field, but radiates peace to the environment. The formula frequency, plus intention-ness, Sittihin healing finds its most disciplined and powerful application in the mantra. The integration of these sound techniques, from solfeggio to one's own voice, is the first firm step toward the complete retuning of the human instrument. The first pillar of resonance was sound, the force that introduces a frequency of order. Now, we must explore the second and third pillars, which transform that frequency into a directed and stable power. The scroll establishes that the power does not reside in the external frequency, the bowl or the tone, but in the internal director who applies that frequency. Intention. Chapter 7. Intention is the second pillar, and it is, in essence, the focused will of consciousness, acting as the laser that amplifies resonance and gives it direction. Without intention, sound is a wave. With intention, it becomes a tool for manifestation. Energy follows thought, but frequency follows intention anchored in feeling. If a doctor administers a medicine, the frequency, without a clear intention of healing, its effectiveness is drastically reduced. Similarly, a solfeggio tone without conscious intention is just background music. The most graphic and profound proof of this principle is found in the experiments of Dr. Masaru Emoto, mentioned in the scroll's warning texts. Emoto demonstrated how intention affects the molecular structure of water. By exposing water to words, thoughts, and music, and then freezing it to examine its crystals under a microscope, Emoto revealed that water exposed to intentions of love, gratitude, and harmony formed symmetrical, beautiful, and complex crystals. Conversely, water exposed to negative words like hate or stupid formed broken, chaotic, and amorphous crystalline structures. This phenomenon underlines a fundamental truth of resonance. Human consciousness has the capacity to organize matter at a molecular level through intention. This revelation is critical for the mastery of resonance because the human body is 70% water. If the water in a glass responds to focused intention, imagine the power and effect of intention applied to the vast amount of water that makes up our being. We are instruments that respond directly to intention. Every cell, every strand of DNA, and every bodily fluid is in a constant state of response to the dominant intention of our consciousness. If the internal intention is fear and lack, the body reflects that disharmony at a cellular level. If the intention is radiant health and peace, the body's internal structure reorganizes toward coherence. The Scroll of Resonance teaches us that the first act of healing is the conscious decree of intention upon our own bioaqueous structure. For this reason, the scroll insists on the ritual of establishing a clear intention before every resonance practice. This intention must be an act of sovereign declaration and not a mere request. A clear intention must be specific, positive, and formulated in the present tense. Instead of saying, "I want not to be sick in the future," the intention must be, "My harmonic field is vibrating at the perfect frequency of health and vitality now." The process of establishing intention involves silencing mental noise, centering on the heart, the center of coherence, and feeling the intention as already realized. Here, it is crucial to understand the fundamental difference between desire, weak, and intention, powerful. Desire is a plea. It stems from lack, from the ego feeling incomplete, and it radiates a frequency of separation. A desire implies the belief that I don't have this now, which lowers the frequency and blocks manifestation. Intention, conversely, is a decree of will arising from the center of the self. It does not ask, but declares the reality as already existing in the causal plane. Intention radiates a frequency of wholeness and certainty, which is the frequency to which the universe responds. Resonance practice transforms desire into intention by giving it a physical frequency, sound, for the will to be anchored. Finally, the scroll emphasizes the critical role of emotion. Intention yam plus feeling. Accelerated manifestation. Intention defines the direction, the compass. Emotion defines the power, the engine. Emotions are energy in motion. Dr. Emoto demonstrated that the word love is more powerful than happiness because love is the highest coherent frequency emotion we can generate. If you set an intention of abundance and accompany it with a deep feeling of gratitude for the abundance you already have, even if not yet physically visible, the fusion of intention, direction, and feeling power generates a resonance wave of such amplitude that material reality has no choice but to synchronize. The mastery of intention, therefore, is not intellectual, but cardiac. It is the art of using the mind to define the direction, but the heart to generate the high-frequency energy that causes that intention to manifest. Chapter 8. The third pillar is thought, which acts as the architect of the harmonic field. Although intention directs the vibration, it is habitual and daily thought that establishes the bass frequency or the constant tone of our instrument. The scroll unambiguously states that every thought emits a specific frequency. This is the principle of vibratory neuroscience. Brainwaves, delta, theta, alpha, beta, gamma, are measurable frequencies that correspond to states of consciousness. A thought, being an electrical discharge, generates a wave. Emotions are the chemical response to that wave. A thought of judgment or worry, for example, activates the stress system, leading the brain into high-frequency, incoherent beta waves. This leads us to the classification of thought frequencies. Thoughts of love, gratitude, and peace generate high frequencies. These thoughts are associated with called gamma waves and states of heart coherence. They are frequencies of expansion, connection, and healing. By thinking with gratitude, brain chemistry responds with the release of neurochemicals that reinforce well-being, creating a positive feedback loop that elevates the base frequency of the self. Thoughts of fear, anger, and resentment generate low frequencies. These patterns are associated with contraction, isolation, and stress beta waves. They are frequencies of lack and fragmentation. By reliving a resentment, the body goes through the same chemical stress cycle that occurred during the original event. The body does not distinguish between a real threat and a persistent thought. The main danger lies in the cumulative effect. Habitual thought establishes the dominant frequency. Most people do not have bad thoughts, but they have repetitive thought patterns that are unconscious and often negative. Constant self-criticism, worry about the future, or the recollection of past failures are like small drops of low-frequency poison. Over time, this incessant repetition establishes a dominant frequency that becomes the default signal of the personal harmonic field, attracting experiences that confirm the low vibration. Thought is, therefore, the main programmer of our vibratory reality. The scroll provides the fundamental technique for mental mastery. How to reprogram mental patterns to raise the base resonance. It is not about fighting negative thoughts, which would only give them more energy and frequency, but about stopping the feeding of the low frequency. Reprogramming begins with non-judgmental awareness of the pattern. The practitioner must observe themselves as a scientist observes an experiment. The thought of self-criticism is occurring here. Its frequency is contraction. By naming and observing, the fusion with the low wave is broken. Then comes the substitution exercise. The substitution practice requires immediately replacing the low thought with a high one. The instant the low wave, the fear thought, is detected, one must consciously force a thought of gratitude or love without waiting to feel it. The act is mechanical at first, but deeply effective. If the thought is, "I am not good enough," the immediate substitution act is, "I give thanks for the heart beating in my chest," or "I give thanks for the air I breathe." By introducing the high frequency of gratitude, the low frequency wave collapses by resonance. With disciplined practice, the brain creates new neural pathways, and thought becomes an automatic generator of high frequency. Chapter 9. The culmination of the teaching of the Scroll of Resonance is the integration of the three pillars into a unified ceremony. The scroll ritual is not just a meditation, it is a complete activation practice designed to move the self from the state of incoherence to perfect resonance. The scroll describes this ritual in 4 interconnected phases: preparation of the space and the self. The scroll begins with the instruction that the outer field must reflect the inner field. Purpose: create a sacred environment that anchors high frequency and minimizes external interference. Recommended physical posture: sitting in a lotus position or on a chair with the spine straight, shoulders relaxed, and hands open on the knees. Mudra of receptivity. Specific breathing technique. Anchoring breath. Inhale deeply through the nose, counting 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds. Exhale slowly through the mouth, counting 6 seconds. Repeat 3 times to calm the nervous system. Guided visualization. Visualize a sphere of bright golden light completely surrounding the space, acting as a protective shield against electromagnetic noise and external energy. Sound mantra to use. Intone the sound OM 3 times to seal the space. Suggested duration: 5 minutes of silent preparation. Complete phase signals a feeling of peace and stillness in the chest. Transition: briefly open the eyes and declare the general intention of the practice. I open myself to the perfect resonance of my being. Phase 1. Field cleansing, release of stagnant frequencies. This phase aims to release stagnant frequencies, traumas, repressed emotions, low vibration residues that are creating static in the harmonic field. Purpose: dislodge emotional and physical noise. Recommended physical posture: maintain the spine straight. Specific breathing technique: breath of fire or rapid breath. Short, vigorous inhalations and exhalations through the nose, focused on the abdomen for 1 to 3 minutes. This mobilizes low energy. Guided visualization. Visualize all fears, resentments, and pains as dense gray smoke embedded in the body and aura. With each exhale, visualize that gray smoke being expelled and dissolved. Sound mantra to use. Intone the vowel sound EH, as in say, long and resonant, feeling the vibration in the solar plexus and stomach area, the center of stagnant emotions. Use an intention of, I now release all energy that does not belong to me. Suggested duration: 5 minutes of toning with the vowel EH. Complete phase signals: feeling lightness or a slight tremor in the body, indicating that energy has mobilized. A feeling of empty space in the solar plexus. Transition: silent pause, normal breathing. Chapter 10. Phase 2. Tuning. Finding optimal natural frequency. Once the field is cleansed of static noise, this phase seeks to find the heart's optimal natural frequency, the point of coherence. Purpose: achieve heart coherence. Heart-brain alignment. Recommended physical posture: gently tilt the chin toward the chest, glottal closure for the sound. Specific breathing technique: rhythmic heart breathing. Breathe slowly, imagining the air entering and leaving the center of the chest, the heart chakra. Maintain a constant, gentle rhythm. Guided visualization. Visualize the heart as a center of emerald green and pink light. See the breath flowing like a gentle breeze through the center of light. Sound mantra to use. Intone the vowel AH, as in father, very softly and prolonged, feeling the vibration in the center of the chest. The sound should be an expression of gratitude. Use an intention of, I tune into my highest frequency of love and peace. Suggested duration: 10 minutes of toning with the vowel AH in the heart center. Complete phase signals: a palpable sensation of warmth, expansion, or peace in the chest. Thought slows down. The brain enters alpha-theta waves. Transition: stop emitting the sound, but maintain awareness of the heart sensation for 2 minutes. Phase 3. Amplification. Elevating and stabilizing elevated resonance. This is the amplification phase, where intention and thought are used to elevate and stabilize the high frequency found in Phase 2. Purpose: multiply the amplitude of the coherent wave and fix the new base frequency. Recommended physical posture: hands can be placed in a connection mudra with the thumb and index finger of each hand touching, the other 3 extended. Specific breathing technique: deep and even breathing, maintaining the heart rhythm found in the previous phase. Guided visualization: visualize the coherence light emanating from the heart as a sun that expands, growing in size with each breath. With each inhalation, the light becomes brighter. With each exhalation, the light expands beyond the body. Visualize that this light is made of 528 Hz frequency, DNA repair, and 639 Hz relationships. Sound mantra to use. Use a high-frequency mantra such as I am peace, I am love, I am abundance. Repeat it mentally or whispering. Use thought to immediately substitute any thought of doubt or worry with the mantra. Suggested duration: 10 to 15 minutes of visualization and mantra repetition. Complete phase signals a feeling of floating, lightness, and the unwavering certainty of the manifested intention. Mental noise has completely ceased. Transition: stop the mantra mentally, but maintain the sensation of light and certainty. Phase 4. Irradiation: expanding harmonic field outward. In this final phase, the practitioner becomes a lighthouse, expanding the harmonic field outward to bless the environment and plant the seed of manifestation. Purpose: project the high coherence frequency into the world and onto manifestation goals. Recommended physical posture: keep the body still and motionless. Specific breathing technique: soft and silent breathing. Guided visualization. Visualize the expanded harmonic field touching loved ones, places in need of healing, and especially the specific goals of the intention. Visualize the goal: health, new job, harmonious relationship, completely saturated by the high-frequency light of one's own field. See reality responding, as if sending a clear, powerful radio signal that the universe receives and amplifies. Sound, mantra to use: total silence. The final intention must be, my resonance is the law, so it is. Suggested duration: 5 minutes of silence and projection. Complete phase signals a sensation of total connection with the environment, where the boundary between the self and the world dissolves. Transition: slowly bring the hands to a prayer position in front of the heart. Bow the head in gratitude, the feeling that sustains the frequency. Remain silent for 1 more minute. Integration: how to maintain elevated resonance in daily life. The scroll warns that the activation ritual is only effective if constant integration is performed. Elevated resonance is not a state reached once, but a muscle that is trained. Integration is achieved through 2 simple yet essential practices: mini tuning sessions. At any time of the day when stress or low frequency is experienced, stop, touch the center of the heart with the fingers, take 3 slow breaths, phase 2, and recall the sensation of the golden light and certainty, phase 3. This instant readjustment prevents the low frequency of mental noise from accumulating. Act of frequential gratitude. Every night before sleeping, recall 3 events from the day and feel gratitude for them. Gratitude is the highest frequency. By sleeping in gratitude, the body heals and the harmonic field is maintained at a high vibration throughout the night, without the unconscious sabotaging the tuning achieved during the ritual. With this constant practice, the human being transforms their life into a symphony. The instrument is tuned, the director, intention, is clear, and the music it plays, manifestation, is one of perfect harmony. Chapter 11. We have traversed the path from the noise of disharmony to the conscious activation of the 3 pillars: sound, intention, and thought. We have learned to use the scroll ritual as the technology to recalibrate the human instrument, moving from fragmentation to coherence. The last stretch of this teaching is the vision, the promise of the transformation that awaits those who sustain the discipline of perfect resonance. The scroll is not only a map for practice, but a portal to a radically new state of being. When the human being becomes a coherence generator, when all their strings vibrate in unison with the maternal pulse of the earth and the creator word, the effects manifest on every plane of existence. These are the tangible fruits of perfect resonance, the reward for vibratory mastery. The first and most palpable fruit is physical health, bodily systems functioning in optimal synchronicity. Disease, as we established, is disharmony. Health is coherence. By introducing frequencies of order, such as 528 Hz or vocal toning, and maintaining heart coherence through intention, the body reverts to the original design pattern. Bodily systems stop fighting each other. The immune system works in harmony with the nervous system. Digestion is efficient, and sleep is deep and restorative. The body is no longer under the constant assault of cortisol. The brain floods the system with well-being neurochemicals. The energy, which was previously wasted on mental noise and emotional static, is now available for vitality, cellular regeneration, and longevity. The person who achieves perfect resonance feels intrinsically well, with an overflowing vital energy that is the physical manifestation of internal alignment. Health becomes the default state, not a goal to be pursued. At the level of consciousness, the fruit is mental clarity, organized thoughts, sharp focus, and activated intuition. The mind, freed from compulsive noise and low-frequency interference, becomes silent and precise. Thoughts are fewer, but more potent and directed. Mental incoherence, the state of multitasking and constant distraction, disappears, replaced by a sharp focus that allows the individual to dedicate their full cognitive capacity to the task at hand. The brain, operating in alpha and theta states consciously, becomes receptive to information from the collective unconscious and the universal harmonic field. This activates intuition, which is not magic, but the ability to receive high-frequency information instantly. The individual knows what to do when and how, without the need for extensive mental analysis, because their brain is tuned to the unified field of information. Thought transforms from a noise generator into a receiver of wisdom. The internal fruit is emotional balance, the ability to feel without being overwhelmed. Emotional disharmony arises when the wave of an emotion, such as anger or fear, has such a large amplitude that it collapses the entire system. By maintaining a base frequency of heart coherence, the individual experiences their emotions without being possessed by them. Emotions become fluid information and not permanent states. Pain is felt, processed, and released without crystallizing in the harmonic field. The person is not happy all the time, but is harmonious. They have the vibratory flexibility to move through the entire emotional spectrum without losing their center of peace. Impulsive reactivity is replaced by a measured and conscious response. The heart is open and vulnerable, but the harmonic field is so strong that nothing external can destabilize it. As the harmonic field elevates, the individual experiences a profound spiritual connection, direct access to higher dimensions. The high frequency of coherence acts as a bridge connecting personal consciousness with universal consciousness. The veil between ordinary reality and subtle dimensions thins. The practitioner has clearer access to internal guidance, their life purpose, and a transcendent understanding of existence. Practices like meditation and prayer become much more potent because the signal the individual radiates is pure and is not filtered by the ego's noise. The person no longer has to believe in their spiritual connection. They experience it as an immutable certainty. The scroll states that the state of perfect resonance is the natural state of the mystic and the sage. Perhaps the most coveted fruit by modern consciousness is accelerated manifestation. Reality responds to coherent frequency. The law of attraction is not about what you ask for, but about what you are vibrationally. When the harmonic field is coherent, potent, and high, intention plus feeling of gratitude, it becomes an infallible magnet for experiences, people, and resources that match that frequency. Synchronicity becomes the norm. External events align miraculously because the individual no longer radiates a mixed or chaotic message. The universe receives a clear signal and responds with order and flow. Manifestation is no longer a struggle. It is the inevitable echo of one's own perfect resonance. Goals are fulfilled not by effort, but by the magnetic tuning with the desired result. The final fruit, the synthesis of all the others, is life as a symphony. when everything flows in perfect harmony. In this state, existence feels easy and full of grace. Life's difficulties do not disappear, but the individual has the archetypal and vibratory flexibility to handle them without losing coherence. The human being becomes a conscious co-creator of the rhythm of their life, understanding that every experience is a necessary note in the melody. The scroll of resonance concludes its instruction with a promise and a warning. The promise that perfect resonance is the designed state of being for humanity. The warning that this state requires loving discipline and the renunciation of noise. The path to the elevated harmonic field is the path of mastery, which transforms the self from a passive recipient of external cacophony to a brilliant lighthouse of order and light, playing the highest note it can play. The music of the soul in perfect harmony with the cosmic symphony.